So in this presentation, I'm going to talk a little bit about the interviewing that you're going to be doing for your project. We're focusing specifically on psychology of interviewing, which is one of the readings that you had to do. So in the text, it talks specifically about how to approach large populations to try and get someone to complete the interview, either in person or by email. In this course, you're going to be approaching individuals. We recommend it be someone with autism, a parent or sibling, a professional such as a teacher or someone in healthcare who works specifically with people with autism. You still need to be cognizant about how you approach them and explain the purpose of your interview. You should always try to be as clear as possible with them, explaining the purpose of the class and why you would like to speak with them specifically. Plan your questions in advance and make sure they are appropriate for the person you're interviewing. Try to put light questions together when you're talking, but also make the interview somewhat conversational. That'll help the person being interviewed feel more at ease. Take your time with the interview, but if you feel you have a complete picture and enough information that you can bring to the table for your project after 10 minutes, then go with that. Don't fill time just to fill time. That would be a waste of the person you're interviewing's time as well, and that's not fair or reasonable to them. Don't hesitate to ask for clarifications if you sense something deeper is happening. You don't have to stick to your scripted questions if it doesn't feel natural. And don't shy away from emotions. If you're talking to a parent and they are upset about something that happened to their child, explore that. It may lead to more fuel for your creative piece. However, if the person being interviewed is uncomfortable, respect that. Maybe ask once, trying to delve, and if they aren't interested in continuing that aspect of the conversation, move on. If you're interviewing the person in person, you'll be able to feed off their body language. If it's over the phone, it's going to be a little bit more difficult, but it's still possible. And the book talks about interviewing on sex, but I tend to think of this as interviewing on any sensitive topic. Many of the same principles can be applied. Try to acquaint yourself with the background of the interviewee ahead of time so you might feel comfortable talking with them. The more at ease you are, the more at ease they will be, and that's what's essential for talking about sensitive topics. Always be practical and safe. We aren't asking you to put yourself in any danger. So if you're meeting someone that you've never met before, always do so in a public space, such as a library or a Starbucks. Always tell someone who you are meeting and where so someone knows where you're headed. And choose a location that makes sense. Obviously, a crowded restaurant may not work, but a library with a small study room might work. And be careful not to be suggestive or leading in your interview if you're interviewing someone with autism. If you're interviewing a minor, be sure to talk to their parents and clear it with them and that they are present during your interview. As this is a more informal interview versus an interview for a court situation or other more serious or research-based situation, it might help to have them there, as it'll make them feel safe. Memories of anyone may not be accurate, so that's something to keep in mind. That doesn't mean that the feelings behind the memory are any less valid, though. You may have to slow your speech for the person being interviewed. I know I tend to get really excitable and talk really fast if I interview someone. I have to tone it down and be cognizant of my actions. People with learning disabilities have recommended talking slower, according to Brennan and Brennan in 1994. Keep your questions simple if you're interviewing children. You want to make sure that your questions are tailored appropriately for the person you're interviewing, and that is where knowing their background is helpful. You may also be interviewing someone who uses facilitated communication or picture communication, so you should allow time for the person to respond. I hope this helps. These are just a few hints and tidbits to go off of. If you have additional questions, you can always email Amber or I, or both of us, preferably, and we can help guide you with who to interview or topics to interview about. Have a great day.